Using the Send USA data in SAS. This is module 4.2.1. Steve Prenti here, University of Minnesota. In this module, continuing on with the week 4 material for healthcare analytics, we're going to be using the SAS server. We're going to go into the Proto for a program and adapt it and show you how to, in effect, make it your own. So let's get in there. We're going to go to SAS server. Log in using the ID that you should have. This is mine acting as a student. And what you'll see here is that I created a program here, SAS4Ini. Now let me do this again to show you exactly what I did. So these are different files that are there now under my course files, which show up below here. You'll see, where are they? These files here. So what I want to do is first of all go for the proto files that were built for the class, bring them in. And now before we do anything, I'm just going to save these in my own folder under my courses. And I'm going to call it, you can call it whatever you want. I'll call it My Proto. And just to show you where that goes, that's now listed here as My Proto. Now remember, what we have to do here is adapt these different pieces so that we have the right path to make these programs work properly. So to do that, what we have to do is, first of all, find the programs. This is coming from expanding all of these pieces here. So we are looking for this file here, the synthetic claims file. We're going to do a right click on it, look at properties, and it'll show us exactly the location of where it is for what we need to use it for our analyses. So we're going to try to scroll out there and then work back from that backslash. I'm going to do Control-C, and then I'm going to change the location here. Put the files right here. I'm doing Control-V as a paste. Now, the next piece is a little tricky. If you notice, there's these utility files. You don't want to do an exact copy here. What you want to do is take the piece that you need under utils and keep the utility file piece left. So we're just replacing that. This live name piece works the same way, where it says utility files. Likewise, file name here under utility files. That should work the way we need it to. Let's just save it real quick. Save program. The little asterisk goes away to show what's there. The other piece that we have to worry about in terms of printing anything out is what lies below here. There's an Excel file that we're going to be outputting to. In this instance, you should look for the directory, if you will, where all your programs are going. So here's some things we did before for week 3. Let's try just to look at the properties for this, because this is really going to be the same location. That's just kind of a mess for this. If you try to scroll out, but it'll take you to the end, but then you can scroll back, do a Control-C or copy, and then basically this spot here, get right up to that. Control-V for paste, and so that should get rid of that extra slash. That should be able to put the file where you want it to be. Alright, so we're just going to let this run and see what errors we run into. We're really running this blind, so bear with me. I'm going to save it again, just make sure we have everything we need. Alright, and let's just let the whole thing out, see what happens. Now, similar to the other programs, as we talked about before, it brings in the claims file, sorts it, and identifies them into different diagnostic buckets for the major diagnostic clusters, and then proceeds to run a piece of SAS code that works for the ADG mapping, and then from there merges in the demographic information, and then puts out essentially a summary table, and that summary table is fairly straightforward to use for basically mapping your week 4 output. And we're going to get more into that in the subsequent video. But let's get to our results here. It's still clocking away. There we go. All right. Great. So what it's done here is it's done for the entire country. It has produced this summary table. So for example, ESI population has 170 million people with the weights that we have, and then we have the other populations that are all in play. So again, this is the population for the whole country. What we need to do now is adapt this. Let's see what the errors were here. Let's see if there's anything that does not appropriate. It should have been able to work anyway. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten ADG values. Let's just take a quick look at the log and see what it did. Should have been okay. Let's see here. Rid of that. So making sure it actually loaded the formats, brought other pieces in. Looks like it did everything. Rocked the format. Made diagnosis detail. Ran the clusters. It doesn't do that. Oh, but there it goes. That part, the sim import didn't work, but the other part did. It created this is actually what's taking files that map all the ADGs, or diagnosis codes to ADGs, so that worked. Then it creates and maps everything from there. Okay, so it worked fine. Now, back to our code. So at the very bottom of the code, we want to adapt this code now and customize it to get to the next level. And so to do that, we're going to it's a little bit of surgery required here. Right now when it's running proc means, it's running proc means for the whole country. What we want to do is have it run proc means just for the states of interest. Now, that variable, remember, is Benny state that we're looking for. So what we need to do here is essentially repeat all this operation that's here, but change some of the programming just a little bit. I'm doing Control-C just to copy that means procedure. And I pasted it. You can see proc means is right here. So I'm going to say old end of program. And I'm going to add a new line, my state custom, my states custom. And you got to use your own states for your own seed, as you know from before, from week 3, excuse me. Okay, so to get to this part here, we're actually going to do this data table for E. I'm going to call it my states. You can call it whatever you want, but that's what I'm calling it here. And I'm going to set the original 4E data, which is all at the person level. I'm going to run it. Actually, I'm not going to run it yet, because what I want to do is to say, and I'm actually going to say by, I don't have to say by person actually. I'm going to say if Benny state in MD, let's go, Benny PA, MD, New York. I'm doing this from when where I went to school. And then end of a semicolon. Okay. And let's just show what that looks like first before we get too crazy here. We're just going to run that. And so let's look at the log. So it basically took the 274,000 observations for the country and then turned it into 33,000 observations, just like it did before. Now, we're going to take table 4E, my states, copy, Control-C, Control-V for paste here. So now we're customizing that. And then we're just going to do the same thing down below here. And just add, so the table we're going to create is my states. Keep the 4F because we don't want to get too crazy here. We're going to run, again, my states. It's going to put out table 4G, my states. And then again, it's going to run to export my states. Let's still have to go out here. Now here I can change it to be 2018, my initials. I'm going to put down STP. And I can put down my states too, just so I'm never confused. P-A-N-Y-M-D. PandyMD. That sounds weird, but we'll let that go. So we don't have to run the whole program. We can just run essentially what we did and see if we got any errors out of this. It should generate a new proc means table. So we can just run it from here. We don't have to run the other piece already. Hit the running man. And there we go. So we have a new total for, say, ESI, which is 21 million and change. Looks like we got everything we want. And we got these percentages here that are listed. And the non-group market, all of that's there. If we look what else we have our new analytics file. We're going to download that, keep it for later. We'll come back to that in the next module. And then just to show you a little bit more, if we go to libraries under work, there should be, yep, there it is, 4G, my states. That's going to be the summary file that shows up in that analytics file that's there, all the different columns. And that's going to give us pretty much what we need to complete the lab. So, a little one longer on this one video than we thought, but just gives you a flavor for what you need to do to customize your program. And of course, don't kill it yet. Make sure when you have your code, you save your code, and now you have essentially put out that Excel spreadsheet. This concludes this video on customizing that Proto4 program for yourself. Next one, we're going to show how we use that information for structured queries.